How far would your husband go if he discovered your sister was impersonating you to destroy your marriage and endanger your unborn child? Phoenix Ashby pressed her palm against the frosted window of the safe house, watching snow fall over the industrial district outside Boston. 5 months pregnant, exhausted, and completely alone. Her husband Cesare Mancini had sent her here 3 weeks ago after credible threats against her life surfaced from a rival family. She understood the precautions. She understood the danger. What she didn't understand was why he'd stopped answering her calls 2 days ago. The burner phone he'd given her sat silent on the table. No messages, no updates. Just static silence that crawled under her skin like ice. She'd tried 17 times. 17 calls that rang and rang before clicking to voicemail. His voice, deep, controlled, the kind that could command a room or whisper promises against her neck, played on repeat. "You've reached Cesare. Leave it." Phoenix never left messages. What could she say? "I'm terrified. I need you. Something feels wrong." The baby kicked, a flutter against her ribs that should have brought comfort, but instead amplified her anxiety. She wrapped both arms around her belly, the oversized sweater drowning her frame. She'd lost weight everywhere except where their child grew. Stress did that. Fear did that. Her sister Marlowe's face flashed through her mind. Uninvited, unwanted. They'd been close once, before Cesare, before the wedding, before Marlowe's congratulations started feeling like curses wrapped in smiles. Phoenix had caught her staring at Cesare during the reception. Watched her fingers linger too long when she'd hugged him. Noticed how she'd asked too many questions about their honeymoon, their home, their life. "You're so lucky, Phoenix," Marlowe had whispered at the wedding, her breath wine-sweet and bitter. "He's everything." Phoenix shook the memory away. She was being paranoid. Pregnancy hormones, isolation, the constant fear of assassination attempts. It was all bleeding together, making her see threats where none existed. Except Cesare had stopped calling. Her guard, a stone-faced man named Enzo, who worked directly under Cesare's command, stood outside her door. She'd tried asking him questions this morning. "Has something happened? Is Cesare all right? Why hasn't he contacted me?" Enzo's expression never changed. Boss's orders: stay inside, stay quiet. He'll explain when it's time. But time was running out. Phoenix could feel it in her bones, in the way shadows seemed to stretch longer each day, in the unnatural quiet that pressed against the windows like hands trying to get in. She picked up the burner phone again, hesitated, then dialed a different number, her sister's cell. 3 rings, 4. Then Marlowe's voice, slightly breathless. "Phoenix? Oh my God, are you okay? I've been so worried about you." Something in her tone felt wrong. Too eager. Too concerned. Like she'd been waiting for this call. "I'm fine," Phoenix lied, instincts screaming. "I just wanted to check in. Have you heard from Cesare?" A pause. Too long, too calculated. "Cesare?" Marlowe's voice shifted, smoother now, almost pleased. "Why would I hear from your husband, Phoenix?" The way she said your husband, like the words tasted sweet, like she was trying them on for size, sent electricity down Phoenix's spine. "No reason. Forget I asked." "Wait, Phoenix." She ended the call, heart hammering against her ribs. Her hands shook as she set the phone down, as pieces of a puzzle she didn't want to solve started clicking into place. Cesare's silence, Marlowe's tone, the way Enzo wouldn't meet her eyes anymore. Phoenix walked to the bathroom and stared at her reflection. Blonde hair now darker at the roots, face thinner, eyes haunted. She'd always looked like Marlowe. People mistook them for twins their entire lives. Though Marlowe was 2 years younger, same bone structure, same height, same voice when they wanted it to be. Her blood turned cold. No, she wouldn't. She couldn't. But Phoenix knew her sister. Knew the obsession that had grown behind those familiar eyes. Knew that Marlowe didn't just want what Phoenix had. She wanted to be Phoenix. And if Cesare thought Phoenix was somewhere else, with someone else, being someone else, the baby kicked again, harder this time, as if sensing her mother's terror. Phoenix grabbed the phone with trembling fingers and tried Cesare one more time. This time, someone answered. "Hello?" It was her own voice, her exact cadence, her breathing pattern, but it wasn't her. Tesseray's in the shower, sis, Marlowe purred through the line, wearing Phoenix's identity like stolen silk. Should I tell him you called? What has Marlowe done, and how long has she been playing this deadly game? Hello, beautiful family. My daughter challenged me to hit 1,000 subscribers. So now you're all involved. Let's show her that nothing is impossible with a family behind you. Subscribe and comment below with where you're watching from. I want to know. Because seeing all your locations reminds me that stories connect us all, no matter the distance. Let's continue. The phone slipped from Phoenix's fingers and clattered against the floor. Her sister's voice, her voice, echoed in her skull like a death sentence. Marlowe was with Cesare, in their home, answering his phone, pretending to be her. Phoenix's knees buckled. She caught herself against the sink, gasping for air that wouldn't come. The baby pressed against her lungs. Or maybe that was panic. Maybe that was the realization that everything she'd trusted had rotted from the inside out. How long? How long had Marlowe been wearing her face, sleeping in her bed, living her life? 3 weeks. That's how long Cesare had kept her hidden in this safe house. 3 weeks of isolation while he'd promised protection, promised safety, promised he'd come for her. Soon. Had Marlowe been there the whole time? Had she kissed him goodnight with Phoenix's lips? Had she whispered Phoenix's words into his ear? The bathroom walls closed in. Phoenix forced herself upright, forced her mind to work through the shock. She knew Cesare Mancini better than anyone, or thought she did. He'd built his reputation on reading people, on seeing through lies, on eliminating threats before they materialized. He was the youngest underboss in the Mancini family's history, a man who'd survived 3 assassination attempts before his 30th birthday through pure instinct and ruthlessness. So how had Marlowe fooled him? Phoenix stumbled back to the main room and sank onto the couch, pressing both palms against her belly. Their baby moved beneath her touch, oblivious to the nightmare unfolding. She'd met Cesare 18 months ago at a charity gala her father's law firm had sponsored. She'd been there reluctantly, hiding in the garden with champagne she wasn't drinking, when he'd found her. Running from something? He'd asked, dark eyes catching streetlight like polished obsidian. Boring conversations, she'd answered, surprising herself with honesty. Then let me bore you with something different. He hadn't bored her. He'd set her world on fire. Within 3 months, they were engaged. Within 6, married. Her father had concerns. The Mancini family has connections. Phoenix, dangerous ones. But she'd seen past the reputation to the man underneath. Cesare protected what was his with savage devotion. He read her moods before she understood them herself. He'd memorized how she took her coffee, which side of the bed she preferred. The exact pressure of touch that made her feel safe versus desired. That man couldn't be fooled by an imposter, unless Marlowe had studied her, really studied her. Phoenix remembered the months before the wedding when Marlowe had visited constantly, asking endless questions. How did you meet? What does he like? What makes him laugh? Does he have any tells when he's stressed? Phoenix had thought her sister was being supportive, living vicariously through her romance. Now those questions took on sinister weight. Marlowe had been taking notes, building a blueprint, preparing for this exact moment. But why now? Why wait until Phoenix was pregnant and vulnerable? The answer crystallized with ugly clarity. Because a pregnant Phoenix was valuable. The baby made her Cesare's future, his heir, his weak spot. And if Marlowe could convince him she was carrying that heir, Phoenix's stomach lurched. She barely made it to the trash can before losing what little she'd eaten that morning. Enzo knocked on the door. Mrs. Mancini, you all right? Mrs. Mancini. The title felt like mockery now. Was Marlowe answering to that name too? Was she playing the devoted mafia wife while Phoenix rotted in protective custody? I'm fine, Phoenix called out, voice raw. She wasn't fine. Nothing was fine. But she couldn't let Enzo know she was unraveling. Couldn't show weakness to anyone in Cesare's organization until she understood the full scope of Marlowe's deception. Phoenix retrieved her phone from the bathroom floor and stared at the screen. She could call Cesare directly, confront him, expose Marlowe immediately. But if her sister had spent 3 weeks establishing herself as Phoenix, had learned to mimic her perfectly enough to fool the man who knew her most intimately, would he even believe the real Phoenix? Or would Marlowe spin it as paranoia, as pregnancy hormones, as mental instability? The rival family threats, the sudden need for a safe house, the timing of it all. Phoenix's blood froze. What if there had never been threats? What if Marlowe had fabricated the danger to get Phoenix isolated? What if Cesare had sent his pregnant wife away based on false intelligence, creating the perfect opportunity for replacement? A new text message appeared on her phone. Unknown number. Stop calling. You're making this harder than it needs to be. He thinks you're me now. He'll never choose the real you over what I've given him. Move on, Phoenix. Disappear. It's safer for everyone. Rage burned through the fear. Marlowe wanted her to run. Wanted her to abandon her husband, her home, her life. Wanted Phoenix to simply evaporate so she could fully inhabit the stolen identity. Phoenix's hands steadied. The baby kicked again, stronger this time, and she felt something shift inside her, not physically, but fundamentally. She'd spent 3 weeks being docile, being obedient, trusting that Cesare's protection meant isolation. She'd forgotten who she was before him. Phoenix Ashby had graduated top of her class, had negotiated $1 million settlements for her firm, had never backed down from a fight worth fighting. And this fight? This was her child, her husband, her life. If you enjoyed this part, make sure you're subscribed because things are about to get intense. Drop a comment telling me what you think Marlowe's endgame is. I read every single one. She opened her contacts and scrolled past Cesare's number to someone else, someone who'd known her before the wedding, someone who might still believe her. Her father answered on the second ring. Phoenix? Sweetheart, where are you? His voice cracked with relief and something else. Fear. Dad, I need you to listen carefully. Don't tell anyone we spoke. Not Cesare. Not his family. No one. Phoenix, what's wrong? Cesare called me 2 days ago, saying you were having complications with the pregnancy, that you were at a private facility upstate. The room tilted. What did you just say? What lie has Marlowe constructed? And how deep does her betrayal go? Phoenix's father repeated himself, each word landing like a bullet. Cesare called 2 days ago, said you'd been experiencing severe complications, preeclampsia, possible early labor. He told me you were at a specialized facility upstate under observation, that visitors weren't allowed yet, but you were stable. Phoenix, what's happening? The safe house walls seemed to breathe around her. Marlowe hadn't just stolen her identity, she'd constructed an entire narrative. A medical emergency that explained Phoenix's absence, that justified why no one could visit, that painted Marlowe as the concerned pregnant wife receiving treatment while the real Phoenix sat abandoned in industrial nowhere. Dad, listen to me. Phoenix's voice dropped to barely a whisper. I'm not at any facility. I'm in a safe house in Boston. Cesare sent me here 3 weeks ago because of alleged threats. But I think... She swallowed hard. I think my sister has been impersonating me. I think she's with him right now, pretending to be me. Silence stretched across the line. Then, Marlowe. Yes. Phoenix, that's insane. How could she possibly... We look identical, Dad. You've said it yourself our entire lives. And she's been obsessed with Cesare since the engagement. I need you to do something for me without asking questions. Can you do that? Her father's breathing changed. The lawyer in him took over, practical and precise. What do you need? Go to my house. Make up an excuse. You're worried, you want to see me, whatever. Look at the woman who answers the door. Really look at her. Then call me back. And if it's not you? Phoenix touched her belly, felt the baby's movements like Morse code against her palm. Then we figure out how to get my husband back before my sister destroys everything. After her father hung up, Phoenix paced the small space like a caged animal. 47 minutes passed. 53. Each second stretched into eternity. Enzo remained stationed outside her door, loyal to Cesare's orders, completely unaware his boss was being manipulated by an imposter. When her phone finally rang, her father's voice was tight with barely controlled fury. You're right. I don't know how, but you're right. She has your mannerisms down perfectly. The way you tilt your head, that thing you do with your wedding ring when you're thinking. But her eyes gave her away. She looked at me like she was performing, like she was waiting for applause. You never look at me like that. Phoenix's knees weakened with validation and terror. Did Cesare see you? He came downstairs. Phoenix, he put his hand on her stomach. He called her baby and asked if she needed anything. He believes it completely. He thinks she's you, thinks she's carrying his child. The image of Cesare touching Marlowe's flat stomach, because Marlowe wasn't pregnant, could never give him what Phoenix carried, made bile rise in her throat. There's more, her father continued. I overheard her on the phone as I was leaving. She was talking to someone about a doctor's appointment tomorrow afternoon. Something about confirming the pregnancy's progression. Phoenix, if she takes him to a doctor, they'll discover there's no baby, Phoenix finished. And she'll have to do something drastic to cover the lie. Or she's already planned for this. The words hung between them like a noose. Marlowe wasn't stupid. She'd orchestrated this entire scenario with precision. She wouldn't schedule a doctor's appointment unless she had a solution for the inevitable exposure, unless the solution involved making sure the real pregnant Phoenix never surfaced to contradict her story. Dad, I need you to leave the city. Tonight, don't tell anyone where you're going. I'm not leaving you to handle this alone. I'm not alone. Phoenix looked toward the door where Enzo stood guard. I'm surrounded by Cesare's men. Once I figure out how to reach him, how to make him see the truth, Marlowe's finished. But until then, you're a liability she might eliminate. Please. Her father's reluctant agreement came with a promise to check in every 6 hours. After disconnecting, Phoenix stood in the center of the room and forced herself to think like Cesare. He'd taught her about strategy during late-night conversations, about how power in his world required 3 moves ahead of everyone else. Marlowe had made her moves. She'd isolated Phoenix, stolen her identity, embedded herself in Cesare's life, and constructed a medical narrative that explained inconsistencies. But she'd made one critical mistake. She wasn't actually pregnant. Tomorrow's doctor's appointment was the breaking point. Either Marlowe had faked medical records, difficult but not impossible, or she planned something catastrophic to avoid exposure, a staged emergency, a tragic accident that explained losing the baby, something that would generate sympathy, bind Cesare closer to her through shared grief. Phoenix's hands clenched into fists. She wouldn't let Marlowe weaponize the loss of a child that didn't exist while Phoenix's real baby kicked and grew inside her. She opened the burner phone and composed a message to Cesare's private number, the one only she was supposed to know. Ask her about the scar on your left shoulder blade. Ask her what you said the night you proposed. Ask her where you first made love. If she can't answer, you'll know she's not your wife. Her finger hovered over send, then stopped. If Marlowe had access to Cesare's phone, which she clearly did based on earlier, she'd see this message first. She'd have time to research answers, to cover tracks, to spin this as Phoenix's jealous breakdown. Phoenix deleted the draft. She needed something Marlowe couldn't prepare for. Something only the real Phoenix would know. The baby kicked 3 times in rapid succession, and Phoenix remembered. Their private signal. On their wedding night, Cesare had pressed his palm against her stomach and whispered, "When you're carrying our child and you feel them move, press back 3 times. That's you telling them I'm coming home. That's our promise." She'd done it every day of this pregnancy. 3 gentle presses against her belly, a ritual Marlowe couldn't possibly know about because Phoenix had never told anyone. Not her father, not her friends, certainly not her sister. Phoenix grabbed her coat. She'd been docile long enough. "Enzo," she called through the door. The guard opened it immediately, hand instinctively near his weapon. "Mrs. Mancini? I need to see my husband. Now, it's not a request." How will Phoenix break through her cage? And what will Cesare do when both women claim to be his wife? Enzo's expression didn't change, but Phoenix saw the calculation behind his eyes. He was Cesare's soldier, trained to follow orders without question, and his orders were to keep Phoenix locked down until further notice. "Boss said no movement until he gives clearance. Your boss also thinks I'm upstate in a medical facility." Phoenix stepped closer, letting him see the desperation and fury burning in her face. "Call him, right now. Tell him his wife at the safe house demands to speak with him." Use those exact words, his wife at the safe house. Enzo's jaw tightened. For 3 seconds, he didn't move. Then he pulled out his phone and stepped into the hallway, doors still cracked. Phoenix heard his low voice, the confusion creeping into his tone. "Boss, I've got a situation." "No, she's fine physically." But she's demanding to speak with you. Says to tell you your wife at the safe house needs. Yes, boss. Understood. He returned, phone extended. He wants to talk to you. Phoenix grabbed it like a lifeline. Cesare. The pause on the other end lasted too long. When he finally spoke, his voice carried that dangerous edge she'd learned meant someone was about to bleed. Phoenix. Just her name. But the way he said it, carefully, like he was testing the weight of it, told her everything. He was confused, maybe even suspicious, but not convinced. I need to see you, she kept her voice steady despite her racing heart. Face to face, alone. Baby, you know I can't risk moving you right now. The threats. What threats, Cesare, specifically? Tell me exactly what intelligence you received and from whom. Another pause. She'd surprised him. The Phoenix he knew didn't interrogate. She trusted his judgment in matters of security. But pregnancy and isolation had apparently made her bolder. Details aren't something we discuss over unsecured lines. Then come here, bring Enzo inside as witness. We need to talk about something only you and I know. I can't tonight. You're having the ultrasound appointment tomorrow afternoon, remember? The specialist wants both of us there to check on the baby's development. I'll come get you tomorrow morning, we'll go together, and afterward we'll talk about everything. I promise. Phoenix's blood turned to ice water. The appointment. Marlowe had set a trap, and Cesare was walking straight into it. I'm not having an ultrasound tomorrow. Yes, you are. We scheduled it last week. Dr. Reeves at the specialty clinic downtown. You said you wanted me there for this one, specifically because we'd find out. He stopped abruptly. Find out what, Cesare? His voice softened into intimacy that felt like knives. The gender. You said you were ready to know if we're having a son or daughter. Phoenix, are you feeling all right? Should I send the doctor to the safe house tonight? Marlowe had thought of everything. She'd created shared memories, planned future moments, embedded herself so completely into Phoenix's life that contradicting her meant sounding unstable. I'm fine, Phoenix forced calm into her voice. You're right, the appointment. I'm scared, Cesare. I need you. Tomorrow morning, baby, I promise. Get some rest. The line went dead. Phoenix handed the phone back to Enzo, mind racing through possibilities. Marlowe would be at that appointment tomorrow, playing the excited mother-to-be. When the ultrasound revealed no pregnancy, or if Marlowe had somehow faked medical records showing Phoenix's real baby as her own, what then? Either way, one of them wouldn't leave that clinic alive. Phoenix spent the next 6 hours planning. She'd underestimated her sister once. She wouldn't make that mistake again. Marlowe had resources Phoenix didn't. Access to Cesare's home, his people, his trust. But Phoenix had something Marlowe couldn't fake, the truth, and a baby that proved it. At 2 a.m., Phoenix's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I know you talked to Dad. I know you're planning something, but Cesare's mine now. Tomorrow at the appointment, he'll see the ultrasound showing a healthy baby, his baby, growing inside me. I've paid very good money for very convincing medical records. When you show up claiming to be his real wife, you'll look insane, desperate, dangerous. He'll have you committed for psychiatric evaluation, and while you're locked in a facility trying to prove your sanity, I'll be raising your child as mine. He'll never know the difference. Walk away, Phoenix. You've already lost. Phoenix read the message 3 times. Marlowe had falsified medical records showing herself as pregnant. She'd probably used Phoenix's real ultrasound images, superimposed them with fake patient information. In Marlowe's version of tomorrow, Cesare would see proof that the woman he'd been living with was carrying his child, while Phoenix appeared as an unhinged imposter. Unless Phoenix proved her identity beyond any doubt before that appointment happened. She opened her contacts and found a number she hadn't called in months, Dante Rossi, Cesare's cousin and the family's consigliere. He'd been at their wedding, had toasted their future, had pulled Phoenix aside afterward with unexpected advice. Cesare trusts completely, or not at all, Dante had told her. If you ever need to reach him and can't, call me. I'm Switzerland in this family. I deal in truth, not loyalty. The phone rang 4 times before a groggy voice answered. This better be life or death. Dante, it's Phoenix. Phoenix Mancini. I need your help, and I need you to believe something that sounds impossible. A rustle of movement. When Dante spoke again, he was alert, I'm listening. Phoenix told him everything. The safe house, the silence, Marlowe's impersonation, the stolen identity, the fake pregnancy, tomorrow's appointment trap. She laid it out in precise detail, the lawyer in her building an airtight case. When she finished, Dante's silence stretched so long she thought he'd hung up. Then, the woman I've seen with Cesare this week has been different. Small things. The way she drinks coffee, sweet instead of black. She laughs louder, she touches him more publicly, like she's proving something. I thought marriage was changing you, making you more performative. It's not me, Dante. I believe you. The certainty in his voice cracked something open in Phoenix's chest. What do you need? Get me to that appointment tomorrow before Marlowe does. And bring someone who can verify I'm actually pregnant. Someone Cesare trusts absolutely. I'll handle it. But Phoenix, if you're wrong about this, if there's any chance you're confused. I'm carrying his child, Dante. I'm 5 months pregnant. My sister is not. That's biology, not confusion. Then we'll prove it. A pause. And Phoenix, when Cesare finds out someone's been playing him like this, you need to prepare yourself for what he'll do. My cousin doesn't forgive deception, ever. Phoenix pressed her palm against her belly, felt the baby's responding movement. 3 kicks, their private signal. Good, she whispered, because neither do I. Dante arrived at the safe house at 6 a.m. with Dr. Sofia Caruso, the Mancini family's personal physician for 3 generations. The doctor was in her 60s, sharp-eyed and no-nonsense, carrying a medical bag that had probably witnessed more bullet wounds than pregnancies. Enzo had tried to stop them at the door until Dante flashed credentials that made the guard step aside immediately. Consigliere outranked security protocols. You have 10 minutes to examine her, Dante told Dr. Caruso, posting himself by the window like a sentry. Then we move. Phoenix sat on the couch, heart hammering as the doctor approached with clinical efficiency. No warm bedside manner, just cold assessment. Show me your stomach. Phoenix lifted her sweater. The swell of 5 months' pregnancy was undeniable. Not huge yet, but distinctly rounded. The skin stretched taut over new life. Dr. Caruso pressed gloved hands against her belly, probing with practiced precision. Then she pulled out a portable fetal Doppler. The baby's heartbeat filled the room. Strong, steady, real. 147 beats per minute, Dr. Caruso announced, making notes. Consistent with 22 weeks gestation. Fetal movement present and active. She looked up at Phoenix with something that might have been respect. This child is healthy, and this pregnancy is very real. Can you confirm it's mine? Phoenix asked. That I'm the biological mother? Not without lab work, but based on your tissue elasticity, hormone presentation, and the progression of physical changes. You've been pregnant for approximately 5 months. This isn't something you can fake convincingly. Dr. Caruso packed her equipment with efficient movements. Whoever is claiming to carry Cesare's child while not actually pregnant is playing a very dangerous game. Dante checked his watch. The appointment's at 9 downtown. Cesare thinks he's taking his pregnant wife for an ultrasound. We need to get there first and set the stage. He won't believe me if Marlowe's already convinced him I'm unstable. Phoenix stood, steadying herself. She's had 3 weeks to become me, to learn every detail. Then we don't give her time to perform. Dante's smile was knife-sharp. We ambush them both with truth she can't prepare for. Dr. Caruso will conduct simultaneous examinations in front of Cesare. 2 women claiming to be Phoenix Mancini. Only one actually pregnant. Biology doesn't lie. Phoenix grabbed her coat, adrenaline replacing fear. What about Marlowe? She'll run the second she realizes what's happening. She won't get the chance. Dante's tone carried the cold promise of violence. I've positioned men at every exit of that clinic. If she tries to bolt, they'll stop her. Gently, if possible. The implication of if possible hung in the air like gunsmoke. They arrived at the specialty clinic 45 minutes early. It occupied the top floor of a medical building in downtown Boston. Expensive, discreet. The kind of place where mob wives and politicians' mistresses received care without questions. Dr. Caruso had privileges here, which meant access to examination rooms before official hours. Dante escorted Phoenix to a private suite and positioned himself where he had a clear view of the entrance. Tesserae will bring her through that hallway at 8:55. He's always exactly 5 minutes early to important appointments. Old habit from when being late meant ambush. Phoenix's hands wouldn't stop shaking. She pressed them against her belly, feeling the baby move beneath her palms. You're about to meet your father, she thought. Really meet him. And he's going to lose his mind when he realizes what's been done to us. At 8:53, Dante's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and nodded once. They're in the parking garage. Phoenix's heart rate spiked so violently she felt dizzy. Dr. Caruso appeared at her side with the practiced ease of someone accustomed to crisis. Breathe, slow and steady. Stress affects the baby. The baby's father thinks another woman is carrying his child. I think we're past stress management. The elevator doors at the end of the hallway chimed open. Cesare Mancini stepped out first, and Phoenix's entire body responded to him like a compass, finding north. 6'3", dark hair styled with casual precision, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. But it was his face that destroyed her. Those sharp features she'd traced with her fingers on 1,000 mornings, the jaw she'd kissed, the eyes that had looked at her like she was the only solid thing in a world built on sand. Those same eyes that now looked at Marlowe with protective intimacy as she followed him out of the elevator. Phoenix's sister wore a dress Phoenix recognized from her own closet. Cream-colored, empire waist, designed to flow over a pregnant belly. Except Marlowe's stomach was flat beneath the clever draping. She'd added a small prosthetic bump, good enough to fool casual observation, not good enough for medical examination. Marlowe had her arm linked through Cesare's, and the way she leaned into him, the casual ownership of the gesture, made Phoenix's vision blur red. Dante stepped into the hallway before they could reach the reception desk. Cesare, we need to talk. Cesare's entire demeanor shifted. The protective husband vanished, replaced by the underboss who'd survived a decade of power struggles through sheer ruthlessness. His hand moved fractionally toward the weapon Phoenix knew he carried at his spine. Dante, this is unexpected. I've got something you need to see. It's about your wife. Dante's gaze flicked deliberately to Marlowe, then to the examination room where Phoenix waited. Both of them. The hallway went silent. Cesare's expression didn't change, but Phoenix saw his pupils dilate, saw the micro-tension in his shoulders that meant his mind was already calculating threats and responses. Marlowe's performance was flawless, confusion mixed with concern, a hand instinctively moving to protect her fake belly. Dante, what are you talking about? I'm right here. Are you? Dante gestured toward the examination room. Because the woman in that room claims to be Phoenix Mancini. Says she's been locked in a safe house for 3 weeks while someone stole her identity. Says she's 5 months pregnant with Cesare's child. He paused. And Dr. Caruso just confirmed she's telling the truth. Cesare's face went carefully blank. The expression Phoenix had learned meant he was processing information that contradicted everything he thought he knew. He looked at Marlowe, really looked at her, and Phoenix saw the exact moment doubt crept into his eyes. Cesare, this is insane, Marlowe said, voice rising with perfect distress. I'm your wife. We've been together every day. Someone's trying to manipulate you. Then you won't mind a medical examination to prove it. Dr. Caruso emerged from the examination room, clinical authority radiating from her like cold light. 10 minutes. I'll examine both women, verify pregnancy status, physical markers, medical history. Biology will settle this immediately. Marlowe's face went pale. Just for a second, Phoenix saw panic crack through the performance before her sister regained control. I don't have to prove anything. Cesare, tell them. Do the war. Examination. Cesare's voice was dead calm, which meant he was furious. Both of you, right now. He looked directly at the examination room door, and Phoenix knew he could sense her there. Some instinct, some connection that Marlowe couldn't replicate no matter how perfect her imitation. Dante opened the door. Phoenix stepped into the hallway, 5 months pregnant and exhausted and burning with vindication. Her eyes locked with Cesare's across 15 feet of clinical hallway, and she watched his entire world restructure in real time. He knew, before the examination, before any proof, before any words, he looked at her and knew. Phoenix. Her name left his mouth like a prayer and a curse, combined. Then he looked at Marlowe, and his expression went so cold that even Dante took an involuntary step back. "Who?" Cesare said softly, in the tone that meant someone was about to die. "The fuck are you?" Marlowe's composure cracked like thin ice under pressure. Her hand dropped from the fake belly, and Phoenix saw her sister's mind racing through exit strategies, lies, desperate plays. "Cesare, please listen. I asked you a question." Cesare's voice dropped lower, more dangerous. "Who are you?" "I'm Phoenix's sister, Marlowe." The confession came out strangled, desperate. "But I did this because I love you. Because she doesn't deserve you. She was going to leave you, Cesare. She told me weeks ago she couldn't handle this life, couldn't raise a child in your world. I was protecting you from—" "Liar." Phoenix's voice cut through the hallway like a blade. She moved toward them, one hand protectively cradling her belly. "I never said that. I never even implied it." Cesare held up one hand, a command for silence that both women obeyed instinctively. His eyes never left Marlowe's face, reading her with the focus he usually reserved for enemies and contracts. "How long?" he asked quietly. 3 weeks, Dante answered when Marlowe stayed silent. "She's been living in your home, sleeping in your bed, playing your wife for 21 days while Phoenix was locked down in the safe house. The threats that justified isolation? I'm guessing those were fabricated too." Cesare's jaw clenched so tight, Phoenix heard his teeth grind. "The intel came through Bruno, my second cousin. Said he had reliable information about a hit ordered on my pregnant wife. Bruno's been spending a lot of time at underground casinos," Dante said. "Lost big about a month ago. I'm guessing someone paid his debts in exchange for planting false intelligence." Marlowe took a step backward, calculating the distance to the elevator. Dante's men materialized in the hallway, 3 of them, blocking every exit with practiced efficiency. "You planned this." Cesare's voice was barely above a whisper, which somehow made it more terrifying. "You researched my wife, studied her, manipulated my organization's security protocols, got one of my own men to feed me false information, and then you walked into my home, into my bed, and pretended to be the woman I love." "I didn't just pretend." Marlowe's desperation exploded into something wild. "I was better. I was more attentive, more interested in your work, more desperate to please," Phoenix finished coldly. "Because you were performing. I never had to perform, Marlowe. He married me because I was real." Cesare finally looked at Phoenix, and the anguish in his eyes nearly broke her. 3 weeks. I didn't know. I should have known." "She's good," Phoenix said softly. "She's been preparing for this since the engagement, maybe longer." Dr. Caruso cleared her throat. "The examination is still necessary for legal documentation. When this goes to trial—" "There won't be a trial." Cesare's tone made it clear what he meant. Marlowe was a problem that would be handled internally, permanently. Phoenix saw her sister realize she was looking at her own death sentence. Marlowe lunged, not for the elevator, but for Phoenix. Her hand went for something in her purse, something metal that caught the fluorescent lights, a knife. Phoenix twisted sideways on instinct, but Marlowe was faster than expected, driven by the manic energy of someone with nothing left to lose. The blade sliced through the air toward Phoenix's stomach, toward the baby. Cesare moved like violence incarnate. He intercepted Marlowe mid-lunge, his hand closing around her wrist with enough force that Phoenix heard bones crack. The knife clattered to the floor. Marlowe screamed, a sound of pain and rage and defeat. "You tried to kill my child." Cesare's voice was empty of everything except cold finality. He looked at Dante. "Get Phoenix somewhere safe, now. I don't want her to see this." "Cesare," Phoenix started. "Now, Phoenix." He didn't look at her. All his focus locked on Marlowe like a predator deciding exactly how to kill its prey. "I'll come for you when this is handled. I promise." Dante took Phoenix's arm gently but firmly. "We need to go. You don't want to be here for what happens next." Phoenix let herself be guided toward the elevator, but she looked back once. Cesare had Marlowe pinned against the wall, his forearm across her throat, his face inches from hers. Whatever he was saying made Marlowe's eyes go wide with terror. The elevator doors closed on the scene, and Phoenix's knees finally gave out. Dante caught her, holding her upright as the car descended. "He won't kill her in the clinic," Dante said quietly. "Too many witnesses, too much exposure. But Phoenix, you need to prepare yourself. Your sister tried to murder your unborn child. In our world, there's only one response to that. I know. Phoenix pressed both hands against her belly, feeling the baby's agitated movements. I know what he'll do, and I can't. Dante, I can't tell him not to. She would have killed our baby without hesitation. Then don't tell him anything. Let him handle it. That's what he does. He protects what's his. And you, that child, you're the only things that matter to him. The elevator opened onto the parking garage. 2 more of Cesare's men waited by an armored SUV, professional, silent, prepared for war if necessary. As they drove away from the clinic, Phoenix's phone buzzed. A text from Cesare's private number. I'm sorry for not knowing, for not protecting you better, for letting her get close to what we built. I'm fixing this. Stay with Dante. I'll come for you tonight. I love you, both of you. Phoenix read it 3 times, tears finally breaking through her control. The baby kicked, 3 times, their signal, and she pressed back gently. Your father's coming, she whispered, and God help anyone who tries to stop him. But as Cesare prepares to eliminate Marlowe, what final card does Phoenix's sister have left to play? Dante took Phoenix to a penthouse apartment overlooking Boston Harbor, one of Cesare's properties that wasn't publicly registered to his name. Safe, secure, invisible to anyone searching for leverage. Dr. Caruso arrived 30 minutes later to conduct a full examination, checking that the struggle at the clinic hadn't caused any complications. The baby's heartbeat remained strong. Phoenix's vitals were stable despite the stress. You and the child are fine physically, the doctor said, packing her equipment. But I'm prescribing rest, real rest. No more drama, no more confrontations. Let Cesare handle the cleanup. After she left, Phoenix stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching storm clouds gather over the harbor. Somewhere in this city, Cesare was dealing with Marlowe. Phoenix tried not to imagine the details, tried not to think about her sister, despite everything, meeting whatever fate Cesare deemed appropriate. Her phone rang, unknown number. Every instinct screamed not to answer, but something made her pick up. Phoenix, Marlowe's voice was rough, broken, crying. Please, you have to help me. You have to tell him to stop. Phoenix's hand tightened around the phone. Where are you? I don't know. Some warehouse by the water. He has men everywhere. Phoenix, he's going to kill me. Your own sister. You can't let him do this. You tried to stab my pregnant stomach. Phoenix's voice was ice. You tried to murder my child because your delusional plan fell apart. I wasn't thinking. I panicked. Phoenix, please, we're family. You stopped being my family the second you stole my identity and climbed into my husband's bed. Phoenix closed her eyes against the ache in her chest. Some small part of her, the part that remembered childhood, shared bedrooms, sisterhood, felt the loss like amputation. You made your choices, Marlowe. Now you live with the consequences. You self-righteous bitch. The tears vanished from Marlowe's voice, replaced by venom. You always got everything, the career, the perfect life, the powerful husband. I deserved him just as much as you. More even. I would have been a better wife. Then, why did you have to steal my face to get close to him? Phoenix asked quietly. If you were so perfect, why couldn't you just be yourself? Silence. Then, because he only ever saw you. From that first night at the gala, it was like I didn't exist. I tried. I flirted. I made myself available. I did everything right. But he looked through me like I was glass. And you barely even tried. You just existed. And he fell at your feet. The raw jealousy in those words made Phoenix's chest ache. So you decided to become me. I decided to prove I could be you, better than you, and I was Phoenix. For 3 weeks, I was everything he needed. He was happy. He laughed more. He was more open. If you just stayed away, if you just let me have this... You're delusional. Phoenix cut her off. He knew something was wrong. Dante noticed. Even if I'd never shown up, your performance would have cracked eventually. You can study someone all you want, Marlowe, but you can't become them. You can't fake 5 years of intimacy and shared history. A door slammed on Marlowe's end of the line. Male voices, sharp and commanding. Marlowe's breathing quickened with panic. Phoenix, please. Tell him to let me go. I'll disappear. I'll leave the country. You'll never hear from me again. Just please. The phone was pulled away from Marlowe. Cesare's voice came through, cold and controlled. Did she really think begging you would save her? Phoenix's throat tightened. Cesare, I should have known. His words carried weight that had nothing to do with Marlowe. The way she kissed me, too eager, like she was trying to prove something. The questions she asked about my day, scripted, performative. The way she touched me at night, like she'd studied technique instead of knowing instinctively what I needed. I told myself you were just nervous about the baby, about the threats. I explained away every wrong detail because I trusted my own security protocols more than I trusted my gut. She fooled everyone, Cesare. This isn't your fault. It's absolutely my fault. The self-recrimination in his voice was raw. I put you in that safe house. I created the perfect conditions for her to replace you. And then I spent 3 weeks with an imposter while you were isolated and alone, carrying our child. Probably terrified I'd abandoned you. Phoenix pressed her palm against the cold window. I was terrified. But I knew you'd figure it out eventually. I knew you'd come back to me. I should have known immediately. A pause, then softer. Are you okay? Really okay? The baby's fine. I'm fine. Dr. Caruso checked everything. Phoenix hesitated. What are you going to do with her? Another pause. Longer. What do you want me to do? The question hung between them like a test. Phoenix looked out at the darkening harbor and thought about Marlowe, her sister, her betrayer, the woman who'd tried to steal everything. She tried to kill our baby, Phoenix said slowly. In your world, what's the standard response to that? Death, swift and certain. And if she'd succeeded? If that knife had found its target? I would have burned the entire city down looking for whoever was responsible. Cesare's voice was absolute. And when I found them, death would have been a mercy they'd beg for. Phoenix closed her eyes. Then do what you would have done, not because I want revenge, Cesare, but because I won't spend the rest of my life looking over my shoulder, wondering if she'll come back, wondering if she'll try again. Our child deserves to grow up safe. You're sure? I'm sure. She heard him exhale. Then it's done. I'll be there in 2 hours. Pack whatever you need. We're leaving the city for a while. Somewhere no one knows to look, where we can figure out what comes next. Cesare, Phoenix's voice cracked. I need to see you, not in 2 hours. Now. I need to know this is real. That we're real, that she didn't. I'm coming, baby. Hold on. Just hold on for me. The line went dead. Phoenix sank onto the couch, hands cradling her belly, and finally let herself break down. The baby moved beneath her palms, active, healthy, completely unaware of the violence swirling around its existence. If you're feeling the intensity right now, drop a comment and let me know. And make sure you're subscribed because the ending of this story is going to blow your mind. 47 minutes later, the penthouse door crashed open. Phoenix was on her feet instantly, but it was Cesare, soaking wet from the rain that had started falling, eyes wild with something between rage and relief. He crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled her against him, carefully, mindful of her belly, but with enough force that she felt his desperation. I'm sorry, he whispered against her hair. I'm so fucking sorry. I should have known. I should have felt it. You're here now. Phoenix pressed her face against his chest, breathing in the familiar scent of him, expensive cologne and rain, and something uniquely Cesare. That's what matters. He pulled back just enough to cup her face in both hands, studying her like he was memorizing every detail. Then his gaze dropped to her belly, and his expression transformed into something Phoenix had never seen before, wonder mixed with fierce protectiveness. Can I? He asked softly. Phoenix guided his hands to her stomach. The baby kicked immediately, 3 strong movements, their private signal. Cesare's breath caught. What was that? 3 kicks. Our promise, Phoenix whispered. I've been doing it every day since I felt movement. 3 presses to tell the baby you're coming home. His eyes closed, jaw clenching against emotion. When he opened them again, they were wet. She's been responding this whole time. She? The ultrasound records Marlowe faked. She used your real images from last month. Dr. Caruso analyzed them. It's a girl, Phoenix. We're having a daughter. Phoenix's legs weakened. Cesare caught her, lowering them both to the couch. His hand never left her belly, and their daughter kicked again, harder this time, like she knew her father was finally there. A girl, Phoenix repeated, tears streaming freely now. We're having a girl. And no one, Cesare said with quiet intensity, will ever threaten her again. I promise you that. Whatever it takes, whoever I have to eliminate, our daughter will grow up safe. Cesare held Phoenix through the night, his hand never leaving her belly, feeling their daughter's movements like a lifeline, anchoring him back to reality. He'd made calls, quiet, clipped conversations that Phoenix didn't ask about. She knew what those calls meant. Marlowe's fate was being sealed in real time. At dawn, Dante arrived with coffee and information. It's handled, he said simply, meeting Cesare's eyes with understanding that didn't require elaboration. Bruno's also been dealt with. Turns out he'd been taking payments from Marlowe for 6 months. She'd been planning this long before the pregnancy. Phoenix absorbed this without surprise. Marlowe's obsession had been building for years. Small comments, lingering looks, questions that dug too deep. Phoenix had dismissed them as sisterly interest. She'd been blind to the rot growing beneath the surface. What about the safe house protocols? Cesare asked, his voice carrying the edge of someone conducting a post-mortem on failed security. How did she exploit them? She had help inside the organization, not just Bruno. Dante pulled out his phone, scrolling through messages. Your driver, Luca. He's been on Marlowe's payroll since last year. He's the one who confirmed your schedule, told her when you'd be vulnerable to manipulation. He also drove her to the safe house initially. She needed to see the location to know exactly where Phoenix was being held. Cesare's expression went cold and distant. Where's Luca now? Waiting for your judgment. Make it public. I want everyone in the family to know what happens to traitors. Cesare stood, carefully extracting himself from Phoenix. And audit everyone who had access to information about my wife. If there are more leaks, I want them cauterized before sunset. Already in progress, Dante pocketed his phone. But there's something else. Marlowe had a contingency plan. She'd hired someone, a freelancer from New York, to eliminate Phoenix if the impersonation fell apart. Contract killer, professional. He was supposed to hit the safe house yesterday. Phoenix's blood went cold. What happened? Enzo happened. Dante allowed himself a slight smile. Your guard killed him before he breached the perimeter. Didn't even report it up the chain until this morning. He thought it was just another threat, not realizing it was connected to Marlowe's scheme. Cesare's hand clenched into a fist. Marlowe hired a contract killer to murder my pregnant wife. She was thorough, Dante agreed. If Phoenix had been successful in contacting you earlier, if the timeline had shifted at all, that killer might have succeeded. Marlowe wanted insurance. If she couldn't be you, he looked at Phoenix. She'd make sure the real you didn't exist to contradict her story. Phoenix felt sick. The scope of Marlowe's plan, the depth of her hatred, was staggering. She really would have killed me, her own sister. She stopped seeing you as her sister a long time ago, Dante said quietly. You became the obstacle between her and what she wanted. In her mind, removing you was justified. Cesare moved to the window, looking out at the harbor with the stillness that meant he was calculating next moves. We need to disappear for a while. Phoenix and the baby can't be in the city until I've cleaned house completely. Dante, I'm putting you in charge of the audit. Anyone who knew about the safe house, anyone who had access to my schedule or my wife's location. I want full backgrounds, financial records, everything. Where will you go? Dante asked. Tuscany, the villa outside Florence that's registered under my mother's maiden name. No one in the organization knows about it except you. Cesare turned back to face them. We'll stay there until after the baby's born. By then, you'll have rebuilt security from the ground up. Phoenix stood, moving to Cesare's side. I want to see my father before we leave. I need to tell him we're okay. I'll arrange it. But Phoenix. Cesare's hand found hers, fingers intertwining. This life, what happened with Marlowe, it's going to happen again in different forms. People will always try to use you to get to me. Our daughter will be a target from the day she's born. I need to know you can handle that you still want this. Phoenix looked up at the man she'd married. Dangerous, powerful, capable of violence that would horrify most people. But also the man who'd memorized her coffee order, who'd held her through nightmares, who was now protecting their unborn child with single-minded ferocity. I knew what I was choosing when I married you, she said firmly, and I'd choose it again, every time. Marlowe didn't destroy us, Cesare. She just proved how strong we actually are. His hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing across her cheekbone. When I thought I might lose you, when I realized what had been happening. His voice cracked slightly. Phoenix, you and this baby are the only things in my life that matter. Everything else is just business, just power games. You're real. Then let's go be real somewhere else for a while. Phoenix pressed her palm against his chest, feeling his heartbeat. Let's go to Tuscany and remember why we chose each other in the first place. Let's meet our daughter in a place that's just ours. Cesare kissed her, slow and deep and full of promise. When they broke apart, Dante was diplomatically studying his phone. I'll arrange transport for this evening, he said without looking up. Private jet. No flight plan. Ghost protocols. You'll be in Florence by midnight. What about Marlowe's body? Phoenix asked, the words bitter in her mouth but necessary. Will there be questions? Investigations? Dante finally looked up, his expression carefully neutral. Marlowe Ashby left Boston 3 days ago, according to security footage at Logan Airport. She boarded a flight to Mexico City and disappeared into the wind. There's no body to find, Phoenix. Your sister simply vanished. The implication was clear. Marlowe's remains would never be discovered. She'd become a missing person case that would eventually go cold. Clean, efficient, untraceable. Phoenix nodded once, accepting this reality. In Cesare's world, this was mercy. No public scandal, no messy exposure, no pain for their father who'd already lost one daughter to ambition and jealousy. Thank you, Dante, she said quietly. I'm not doing it for her. Dante's gaze was steady. I'm doing it for you, and for that little girl who deserves to grow up without the stain of her aunt's crimes following her. The rest of the day passed in careful preparation. Phoenix's father arrived at noon, escorted by 2 of Cesare's most trusted men. The reunion was tearful and complicated. Relief mixed with grief, joy for the baby mixed with loss for Marlowe. I loved both my daughters, her father said, holding Phoenix carefully like she might break. But one of you chose love and the other chose destruction. I'm sorry, Phoenix. I'm sorry I didn't see what she was becoming. None of us saw it, Phoenix whispered. She hid it too well. They talked for 2 hours, about the baby, about Tuscany, about what came next. Her father promised to visit after their daughter was born, to be the grandfather his granddaughter deserved. When he left, he hugged Cesare with surprising strength. Protect them, he said simply. That's all I ask. With my life, Cesare promised. Every single day. At 7 p.m., an unmarked car took them to a private airfield outside the city. Dr. Caruso had cleared Phoenix for travel with strict instructions about rest and hydration. The jet was luxurious but understated. Leather seats, soft lighting, designed for comfort rather than display. As they lifted off into the night sky, Phoenix watched Boston disappear beneath them. Somewhere in that city, Marlowe's scheme was being erased from existence. Evidence destroyed. Witnesses paid off or eliminated. The Mancini family's reputation for handling internal problems with brutal efficiency was well earned. Cesare sat beside her, his hand resting on her belly. Their daughter kicked against his palm, and he smiled, genuine and unguarded in a way Phoenix rarely saw. What should we name her? He asked softly. Phoenix thought about everything they'd survived, about the strength it would take to grow up as Cesare Mancini's daughter, something strong, something that means she's ours and no one else's. Lucia, Cesare said immediately. It means light, after. Everything dark that's happened, she'll be our light. Phoenix tested the name silently, feeling its weight. Lucia Mancini. I love it. Lucia Phoenix Mancini, Cesare corrected. So she always carries part of her mother's strength. As the plane crossed into international airspace, Phoenix felt something shift inside her, not the baby, but something deeper. The fear and betrayal of the past weeks were fading, replaced by fierce certainty. Marlowe had tried to destroy their family before it fully existed. Instead, she'd forged them into something unbreakable. I love you, Phoenix whispered against Cesare's shoulder. Both of you. This is our beginning, not our end. Cesare kissed the top of her head. Our beginning, he agreed. And God help anyone who tries to write our ending. 4 months later, Tuscany welcomed Lucia Phoenix Mancini into the world with golden autumn light streaming through villa windows that had witnessed 3 centuries of births, deaths, and family secrets. Phoenix's labor lasted 14 hours, long enough for Cesare to pace holes in the antique rugs, to call Dante 6 times for updates on security perimeters, to question every decision that had led them to delivering their daughter in rural Italy instead of a state-of-the-art Boston hospital. "She's safer here," Dr. Caruso reminded him, as Phoenix gripped his hand through another contraction. "No records, no witnesses outside our circle. Your daughter enters this world invisible to your enemies." When Lucia finally arrived at 3:47 a.m., 7 pounds, 5 ounces, with her father's dark hair and her mother's determined cry, Cesare broke down completely. Phoenix watched this powerful, dangerous man dissolve into tears as he held their daughter for the first time, whispering promises in Italian that she only half understood but felt completely. "Ti proteggerò sempre. Sei la mia luce. Sei tutto. I will always protect you. You are my light. You are everything." The villa became their sanctuary. Days blurred into a rhythm of feedings and diaper changes, and the profound exhaustion of new parenthood. But beneath the domestic routine, Phoenix felt safer than she'd ever been. Cesare had transformed the property into a fortress, discreet security measures that didn't disturb the rustic beauty, but ensured no threat could reach them undetected. Dante visited when Lucia was 3 weeks old, bringing gifts and updates from Boston. "The audit's complete," he reported over dinner on the terrace, watching the sunset over Tuscan hills. "We found 4 more people on Marlowe's payroll, all dealt with. The family's been restructured from the ground up. New protocols, new security chiefs, new verification systems for anyone in your inner circle." "And the business?" Cesare asked, though Phoenix noticed his attention kept drifting to where Lucia slept in her bassinet nearby. "Thriving. Your enemies assumed the chaos would weaken your position. Instead, the purge sent a message. You're untouchable. Several rival families have requested meetings to discuss partnerships. They respect strength, and you showed them exactly how strong you are." Phoenix listened while nursing Lucia, struck by the strange duality of her life. She was a mother feeding her infant daughter while men discussed territorial power plays and strategic eliminations. Most women would find it horrifying. She found it oddly comforting. This was the world they'd chosen, and Cesare navigated it with the same fierce protectiveness he showed his family. "What about Marlowe?" Phoenix asked quietly. "Has anyone asked questions?" "Your father filed a missing person report after 3 weeks like we discussed," Dante said. "Standard investigation, nothing unusual. The trail goes cold in Mexico City. Most likely scenario, according to official reports. She met with foul play from local criminals. Case will stay open indefinitely, but with no leads. It'll fade into bureaucratic limbo." Phoenix nodded, feeling the complicated grief she'd been processing since that day at the clinic. Marlowe had been her sister, her childhood companion, before jealousy twisted her into something monstrous. Phoenix mourned the girl Marlowe had been while accepting the necessity of what had happened to the woman she'd become. "I'm at peace with it," she said, meeting Dante's eyes. "She made her choices. We made ours." After Dante left, Cesare found Phoenix on the terrace, Lucia asleep against her shoulder. He wrapped both arms around them, creating a circle of warmth against the cool evening air. "Do you miss Boston?" he asked. "Your work? Your life before all this?" Phoenix considered the question honestly. She'd been a successful lawyer, building a career that defined her independence. That woman felt like someone from another lifetime. "I miss my father," she admitted. "I miss certain freedoms. But this?" She looked down at Lucia's perfect sleeping face. "This is better than anything I had before. I'm not saying I'll never work again, or that I've lost myself in motherhood. But right now, in this moment, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." "We can go back eventually," Cesare said. "When Lucia's older, when security is truly airtight. I want our daughter to know both worlds, the beauty here and the power there." "What about more children?" Phoenix asked, surprising herself with the question. "Does one heir satisfy the Mancini family expectations, or will they pressure us for sons?" Cesare laughed softly. Let them pressure. After what we survived to bring Lucia into this world, any future children will be our choice and our timing. Besides, he pressed a kiss to Lucia's head. This little girl is going to be more formidable than any son. I can already tell. 3 months after Lucia's birth, Phoenix's father visited for 2 weeks. The reunion was bittersweet. Joy at meeting his granddaughter mixed with the unspoken loss of Marlowe. They didn't discuss details of what had happened. Some truths were better left buried in the Tuscan countryside. She's beautiful, Phoenix's father whispered, holding Lucia with the careful reverence of a man who understood how fragile happiness could be. She has your mother's eyes. Did you know that? Phoenix hadn't known. Her mother had died when she was 12. Cancer, quick and cruel. The idea that some part of her lived on in Lucia felt like unexpected grace. I wish Mom could have met her, Phoenix said softly. She would have loved her, and she would have been proud of you, how you fought for your family, how you survived. Her father's eyes met hers with understanding that didn't require elaboration. Your mother was stronger than people knew. I see that same strength in you. Before he left, Phoenix's father pulled Cesare aside for a conversation she wasn't meant to hear, but did anyway. I know what you did to Marlowe. I don't need details. But I need to know my remaining daughter is safe, that this life won't destroy her the way it destroyed my youngest. Phoenix isn't Marlowe, Cesare said firmly. Your youngest daughter wanted power without understanding its cost. Phoenix understands completely and chooses love anyway. That makes her stronger than anyone I've ever known. She's not just safe with me. She's the reason I'm capable of being more than what this life typically creates. Her father nodded slowly. Then I can live with what happened. But Cesare, if that ever changes, if you ever become the kind of man who puts power before family, there's nowhere you'll be able to hide from a father's vengeance. If that ever changes, Cesare replied, I'll have already destroyed myself. Phoenix and Lucia are my redemption. I won't waste it. Phoenix smiled from where she listened, feeling the truth in his words settle around her like armor. A year after they'd fled to Tuscany, Cesare received word that Boston was secure enough for their return. But standing in the villa that had become home, watching Lucia take her first unsteady steps across sun-warmed tiles, Phoenix realized something fundamental. I don't want to go back, she told Cesare one evening after putting Lucia to bed. Not permanently, maybe visits, maybe keeping the Boston house for business. But this is where I want to raise our daughter, away from the politics and the constant threats. Here, she can just be Lucia. Not the Mancini heir, not a target, just our little girl. Cesare studied her face for a long moment, then smiled. Then we stay. I'll run things remotely. Dante can handle day-to-day operations. The business doesn't need me physically present, it just needs to know I'm watching. You'd give up Boston? Your position in the family? I'd give up everything for you and Lucia. He pulled her close, his familiar scent and warmth surrounding her. Phoenix, you and our daughter showed me what actually matters. Power means nothing if I'm too paranoid to enjoy it. The business is just money. You're my life. Thank you so much for watching this journey with me. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me what you think about Phoenix and Cesare's ending. Should they have more children? Should they ever return to Boston? I love hearing your thoughts. 2 years after Lucia's birth, Phoenix stood in the villa's garden watching her daughter chase butterflies through lavender fields. Cesare was on a video call with Dante, managing business from the villa's converted office. Dr. Caruso had just confirmed Phoenix's second pregnancy, another girl, due in spring. Life had transformed from the nightmare of Marlowe's betrayal into something Phoenix had never imagined possible. She'd traded courtroom battles for garden design, legal briefs for children's books, power lunches for family dinners under string lights on the terrace, and she'd never been happier. Lucia ran to her, small hands clutching a butterfly that had landed on her finger. Mama, look, pretty, beautiful baby, just like you. Cesare emerged from the house, ending his call. He scooped Lucia up, making her giggle with delight, then pulled Phoenix close with his free arm. Dante says the Boston operations posted record profits this quarter. He's asking when we might visit. Maybe next month, Phoenix said. I want Lucia to meet the rest of your family. And I need to tell Dad he's getting another granddaughter. Another girl. Cesare's smile was pure joy. I'm going to be surrounded by strong women who don't take any of my nonsense. You love it, Phoenix teased. I love you, he corrected, kissing her softly. Everything else is just details. As the sun set over Tuscany, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose, Phoenix felt the weight of the past finally lift completely. Marlowe's betrayal had nearly destroyed them. Instead, it had revealed exactly what they were made of, individually and together. They were survivors, protectors, partners in the truest sense. And as Lucia laughed between them and new life grew inside Phoenix, she knew with absolute certainty that this was her happy ending. Not because it was perfect, but because it was real. Not because there were no more threats, but because they'd proven they could face anything together. This was love, this was family, this was home, and nothing, not jealousy, not violence, not the dangerous world Tesserae inhabited, could take it from them again. Phoenix pressed her hand against her belly, feeling the flutter of new life, and smiled. Their story wasn't ending, it was just beginning. We're pushing to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your support to keep bringing you these intense stories. Hit subscribe and let me keep you company with a new story every day.